on the edge of the container. These are the crates that the batteries came in. They are heavy. Anyway, it's about 10 kW mounted on the edge of the container, and another couple of kilowatts over there. Well, maybe 1.5 kilowatts. Just little experiments that I did that boosted the power. The system that's already sitting there installed has been in there for almost 2 years, and the only thing I've been doing with it is charging my Tesla. So these are the outdoor wall mount batteries. I prefer those, even though this is definitely an indoor installation. I prefer the outdoor because of the way the cooling works. It doesn't put a bunch of dust and junk on the electronics or the battery. And used to have a longer warranty than the indoor stuff, mainly because electronics don't like dirt. So I'm installing the inverters today, assuming a friend of mine shows up to help me lift them into place. They're 170 pounds, 150 pounds, something like that. So not a terrible lift for two guys, even two geezers, which is what it will be. I'm 79. I think my buddy's about 72 or 73. Maybe a little older than that. But anyway, we're both geezers. And if you're mounting these batteries, the dimensions for the wall mount in the for how high to install it, I think it's actually the manual was written when these batteries had a short fixed foot on the bottom of them, or short fixed feet, I should say, on the bottom. Now they have this adjustable feet, and the measurements are off. They're off by quite a bit. So basically, you really need to put the bracket on the back, measure the height of the bolt holes, and go from there. And I did that. These are difficult to install because they weigh so much, and the wall mount has a top and bottom flange that the battery drops onto. So you have to pick it up, align it perfectly, and lower it down into those mounts, which I did by myself. These are 300 pounds, but I used a crowbar and things like that to lift it. Still not easy. And then there's a fitting that goes onto the back, the bolts, the top set of bolts, that locates this bracket for the inverter. But I found those to be a problem in my installation in Hawaii. But they do provide this template that you just set on top of your conduit box, or on top of the battery if you're mounting it directly. And you can see I just marked those holes, and I've got some of the heavy screws. Now I've left this a little loose, not very, but a little loose, because this is really just to keep it from tipping off the wall. I left this a little loose so I can get the inverters onto it and then push them around and line up the holes in the conduit box with the bottom of the inverters. And I knocked out the plugs, almost all of the big plugs out of the inverter, so that I can line it up precisely. So once we get it up, set onto that bracket, we'll wiggle it around until these holes are perfectly aligned. There are screw holes here, but there are no screw holes like this in the bottom of the inverter. no holes. So I'm just going to line up. I don't need that. It's not doing much, I don't think. So I'll just line up these holes with these holes, and we'll call it good. So what I'm basically saying is, be a little careful when you're using the instructions or using what looks like the way you would bolt this stuff together. These things have been through a bunch of revisions, and now they ship with these covers that cover all the stuff in the bottom, which is probably a bit safer. And although anybody with a screwdriver can get past it in about half a minute, but so they're a little bit safer maybe, and apparently perhaps UL requirements demanded these. I'm not going to bother putting them back in. These conduit boxes are definitely worthwhile. These are the battery cables ready to run up through the conduit box and attach into the inverter, and the communication cable. And then, of course, so the three-phase system is quite a bit more complicated wiring. There's a couple of combiner panels that I have to do, and then of course we're going to trench behind the shop to the input power, which is fed from Pacific Power with 3 transformers. And once I get all this done, and I need to put I don't have any more of these panels. I want this to be a more fireproof wall. So I'll be covering this with the typical concrete board. And then once I get that done, and I get this wall in here, we'll connect. I have a mini split that I'm not using. I bought it for a different project that I canceled, and it's just sitting around. So I'm going to heat and cool this room. It's well insulated. You can see I've got heavy insulation on the walls. So this, by the way, is where I have a Chico 30 panel ground mount coming from Signature Solar. The benefit of using a prefabricated ground mount, I mean, I'm totally capable of building my own. I built all this stuff. That's a heck of a lot more complicated than a ground mount. But the big advantage is engineering stamps. I'm going to permit all of this. It's a 4-track permit process. It's quite messy. There's a land use issue. I have to get it approved by land planning. And then of course there's a building permit requirement. It's a freestanding rack, engineered and designed, so it's ready to go. Yep, my buddy's here. So, two old geezers, a little jacking, and a table. We managed to get these things in place. So they're all connected. I mean, they're connected as far as the battery goes. I've powered them up. They look fine. And now the next step is getting all the permits and building the solar for it and powering it up. Oh, and of course trenching it around the back of the shop and into the main panel